to an interesting panel that includes Corinna Boston Pinielas, owner and co-founder of Splash Coworking, and Michael Akinta, founder of iSelect MD. And so Corinna's been able to offer her co-working members the iSelect service. And so we're going to hear more about this. So welcome. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Pastor. It's been such an amazing experience having our friends and colleagues join us today and this past week for Global Entrepreneurship Week. I'm really tickled to be here with Michael because we haven't had the chance to see each other face to face. And this is one of the advantages that we have working virtual, doing things virtual. So I'm going to give y'all a little bit of background of how Michael and I have come together. There was an opportunity to apply for a grant for telehealth services for co-working spaces. And I personally, along with my business partner, Perry, we've just been trying so hard to find a solution that really gave an approachable and affordable option for our co-working members. Because as an entrepreneur, I know I haven't had healthcare services. And if I haven't had healthcare services, I know other entrepreneurs haven't as well. And when we saw this opportunity for to apply to be a part of this program, I think I turned my application in at midnight that day that it was released, because it's like we want to at least be a part of this conversation. And then meeting Joe and speaking with him, Michael, it's been such a great pleasure and honor, because now we have another friend and we get to do business with y'all as being selected to offer telehealth to our co-working members. I was just telling Michael, we had someone come in who's an RN, and I mentioned, like, hey, if you become a splasher, you also have access to telehealth services. And that was just, what? Like, y'all offer telehealth services? And I was so proud to be able to say confidently, yes, you will be able to have access to a doctor 24/7 and at any day or night if you need to. And that is just a relief for so many entrepreneurs. It's a sigh of, I got this and I have something if I need it. So Michael, I'd like to hear from you. What was it that made you kind of open up this opportunity specifically for co-working spaces? And then what other organizations or companies have you worked with before that kind of led you down this trail to offer something like this for co-working?
Very good. Well, I'm very happy to be here. I'm assuming that you can hear me okay. Very good. It's great to meet you. Excited to be in the co-working space. And I think I need to take you back, because this is a very entrepreneurial type of setting. I'd originally dropped my phone in the Savannah River, went to my local phone company in 1999. They didn't have phone insurance, and I started a phone insurance company. And after 5 long years, had 600,000 people paying us $5 a month from across the country. And really, at the end of the day, the elements that go into that is really hard work and timing and a little bit of luck, because that wouldn't work today with how expensive the phones are and the adverse selection with phone insurance. Back then, it was $4 or $5 at a $25 copay. Now it could be $15 to $20, and people are willing to pay that. And the copay is $200. So I'm sure a lot of you have experienced that with these new smartphones. Shortly, I divested from that company. It was very exciting. I was in my mid 30s, and going from, zero to a $9 million company was quite exciting. And then 6 years later, that company sold for $92 million. And then it was acquired by Sprint, and is now worth $500 million, and is sold. That product is sold in Target. They have it on the iPhone. So very exciting to have my fingerprints on that. Shortly thereafter, and I just want to tell you how I got here. I had a doctor's appointment. I was probably 39 years old, and 3 years after I divested from eSecuritel, I sat in a doctor's office for 30 minutes, and then they took me in. I always try and get the first appointment of the day, so they can't be backed up. Well, I still sat for 30 minutes. They took me into the exam room, and the nurse came in and said, "I'm sorry, but the doctor can't see you today. Would you like to reschedule?" And I said, "No, thanks. You've been very helpful." And I left, and I said, we need to, and this was in 2009, 2010. And I said, we need to turn the patient back into the customer. And with the funding that came from my previous sale and some savings, I built a call center, hired a couple doctors, and developed a proprietary computer program that would allow you to complete a health history. The doctor would call the patient would call the call center. The call center would take the health information, notify the doctor would call them back. At that time, we were just in South Carolina. But I have to attribute our success to really one phrase: persevere, and sometimes you have to be too dumb to quit. Just keep going. So 5 years later, this was probably in 2015, and I'm going to, we'd gone national, and I always looked at consumer-based opportunities. For example, colleges, wireless phone companies, banks, anybody that bills a large number of customers. And a close friend I was visiting in Chicago was working out of a co-working site. And I saw all these entrepreneurs coming in, going out. They have the receptionists up front in some cases, but it was several floors of self-employed people. And that's where I first got the notion of co-working, but I didn't act on it. I didn't act on it until me and Joe got together, Joe Savrimutu, and he thought it was a great idea, and he brought it up to me, and I said, wow. I got together with Joe, and Joe saw the same opportunity, and I had mentioned to him that I'd seen this in the past. And once COVID hit, we acquired some grant funding to improve access to telehealth in different vertical markets, and it was a private grant. And so that's how we got to know you, and we're very excited to help you get your feet wet, because at the end of the day, I have to assume there's hundreds of thousands of co-working offices. You would know the numbers better than me, but at the end of the day, as an entrepreneur, what got me into this type of industry was I used to be in banking, and I would get paid every week, and I'd get paid more if I'd sold something. But there was no guarantee that my phone would ever ring again. And I wanted to sell something once and get paid over and over again. And I found that with an annuity-based type of business model. You sell the phone insurance once and you have a monthly subscription. So many people, if I sent someone out there and I said, I want you to ask 100 people for $20 at the grocery store, at the DMV, at the library, wherever, regardless of how cute they are or how handsome they are, they're not going to be that successful. But if you went out there and asked everybody for 50 cents, you'd have a lot more success. Just bring change for $1. The point that I'm trying to make is it's easier to get 100,000 people to pay you 25 cents than it is to get 100 people to pay you $20 if you attach it to the right product. And I think, and I don't want to step outside of my bounds here, but I think co-working is an incredible opportunity to expand our sphere of opportunity, bring a product that has a very high perceived value and real value, priceless when you need it, at a very low cost. And the one thing that I wasn't excited about in my last venture was I didn't feel like I was really making a difference. Our last success was I brought on 200,000 customers at $5 a month. And it was a 4 or 5 year contract. And it was really exciting, but it was really thankless because people are never happy when they break their phone. They want it right now. They want a new one. And there's a lot of fraud. So if your 4 button isn't working, it might be a factory defect, but you want a new phone, and normally it ended up with us. So with telehealth and iSelect MD, every time we pick up the phone, we're helping someone. And once, it's interesting. If you ask 100 people out there, and to be honest, I was probably 8 years early. But if you asked 100 people 5 years ago, they say, "Oh, that's great. I'd love to use that." 50% of them would, and the other 50% would still get in the car, go to an urgent care, and wait for 30 minutes because it's new and it's different. But once you use it once, you never want to be without it. It's that easy.
Yes, you actually touched on several points, and I can relate to your journey because I was in a coffee shop and I had probably one of the largest clients I was going to try to land. And I was speaking with them and I was like, this is not appropriate. I need to not be in a coffee shop where I know half the people here and having this conversation, and we need a co-working space. And I really wanted to try and educate our community of like the benefits. And I did that more or less just by doing it, right? Like having pop-ups and trying it and seeing who would come, who would show up, what time, what day. And we found out it didn't matter where, it didn't matter what time. There were people coming out of the woodworks that needed a space that was professional, comfortable, and they could just get work done. And when you are talking about your experience at the doctor's office, everyone relates to that. Everyone has been at mercy and vulnerable, being vulnerable in that position and at the mercy of the doctor. And you're only seen for 15 minutes. And it's not the quality and personal approach that you want. We've had a couple of members that have just come in and they're like, man, I needed to talk to someone last night and I was able to. Thank you so much. And it's that peace of mind. Because as entrepreneurs, we know we're going in and we're doing something that has, high risk to some extent. And then to have these other factors on our back, that peace of mind is just that much more relief. And then being able to feel empowered to go and do what we're doing. So I'm grateful that, you went into that co-working space, and yeah, there's more and more. I know statistically it was said that about 50% of the offices this next coming year are not going to be utilized like they traditionally were before. And I can speak on behalf of some of our members. They have 5 kids, they have 2 kids, they have 1 kid, or they have a cat at home, and they just cannot work in a home office environment. And we provide that. And it also helps that we're able to offer perks that other memberships wouldn't be able to offer. And I know now more and more talking to different co-working operators, they want to be able to give that type of quality to their members as well. Michael, would you mind speaking to another situation or example to where you saw collaboration really elevated or helped you get to that next step?
Absolutely. But did you close the deal at the coffee shop?
Oh, yes. Yes, I did.
I have a question, and as you talk, my mind goes in different directions. So my question is, with where we're at today with COVID-19, you brought up a very good point. It used to be if you heard a dog in the background, you're like, oh God, someone's working from home. Now everybody's working from home. So it's not uncommon for you to hear dishes clanking, dogs barking, occasional child crying. My question is, do you feel that COVID, I think it has really hurt the commercial market? All these companies that were able to go from an in-house call center to now having their call center reps at their homes. Do you feel that some people will follow the trend of moving out of full-blown commercial spaces, but maybe expanding your sphere of, hey, it's great not having that big office building with 300 employees, but I really need a place to go. Do you see COVID and our new way of doing business as promoting growth in co-working spaces?
Absolutely. Because we have had some people just walk in and be like, I don't know what this is, but I know it's not my home office and I need to do something different.
Right.
And to me, that's the gravitation towards a solution and trying to figure out how to use it, because they know something's not working that's current. But yes, and yes to all of those questions you just asked, because what COVID did do, and with any challenge, as entrepreneurs, we know challenges mean opportunities. And we spoke earlier, we heard from some of our speakers talking about if you weren't able to pivot, if you weren't able to be creative, if you weren't able to kind of get out of your own head and see what's happening around you, it's really challenging to find what your next step is and to be relative, right? And future proofing. And when it comes to co-working and shared workspace, yes, we have to take our measures to be safe, and we have to be very honest with one another and a little bit more intimate with each other's lives, and trust and know that we all have our best interests for one another, and we're trying to have our practices as mindful as possible, because we have so many unknowns. But what COVID has also done is it's made everyone kind of have a pause, right? And just take a moment that we probably all needed, especially in the States, because we have this grind culture. We have this work until you're exhausted, keep going that 12th mile. And it made everyone stop and reevaluate what was really important and what mattered, and just trim off the fat. And with that, I think it was a symbiosis of businesses, corporations, and companies sitting still and being like, okay, the worst has happened, right? We had to stop and take a moment, but we're still functioning, we're still existing, we're still doing. And businesses realized, oh, hey, that statistic that co-working really kind of leans on, about 3/4 of the real estate's not optimized or utilized throughout the annual year, and is also the highest overhead cost for most companies and businesses. We don't really need it. And what we do need is the human capital and talent to be comfortable and be able to perform and just get work done. And they can do that in a shared space if needed.
Yeah, really exciting. Looking back on it, as this one particular friend that originally piqued my interest on the concept, they would, go to their office at all hours of the day, and it wasn't 9 to 5. It could be meeting someone at 7. It could be, AM or PM, or, at noon or at 3. It wasn't a place they had to be, but it was a professional setting. So you had a question about collaborating. And if I could say anything out there that rings true for me is find like-minded people to a degree. And I'll give you an example. In this day and age of COVID, I've got one friend that is moaning about his industry. His hotel industry is dead forever. And on another side, I've got this guy that has been in healthcare for 6 months and is killing it selling PPP or PPE. And the mindset is completely opposite. And, to be successful in this world, you have to remain relevant, and you have to be a little bit different when you can. And I think by adding a telehealth component to what you do has made you different from the other places out there. One of the things that I had to ask myself back in January, telemedicine was really growing, but what COVID did to telehealth would have taken evolution 10 years. What COVID did in basically 2 weeks. But in January before COVID, I'd asked myself, we're relevant, but how are we different? And we decided to add veterinarians to the mix. So now you have real time. It's a separate product, but through voice or video, we know that there's 100 million cats or dogs out there, or households with a cat or a dog. And take them to a vet, and $200 later, and they probably could have solved that problem over the phone. So anyway, and it brings peace of mind, just like the telehealth does. We're not just for prescriptions. So collaborating, I always look for like-minded people, but I also don't want to be surrounded by people that always agree. I had a friend once tell me he had this new concept. It was this new patch he had on his arm, and he's going to start selling them with network marketing. And I said, let me know how it is in 2 years. And a lot of people think get discouraged after 60 days or 90 days, but you have to be too dumb to quit. And I said, make sure the next time I want to make sure that in 2 years you're still doing this, because everybody that poo-poos it, I'll give you an example. I felt that we were going to divest from this company probably 2 or 3 years ago. And every year I feel we're 6 to 12 months away. And sooner or later, I'm going to be right. But every time you say that and it doesn't happen in 6 to 12 months, you lose some credibility. But when I drive through my neighborhood now, they used to say, there's that crazy guy with the telemedicine. Now they drive by and they're like, you're not so crazy after all. So anyway, you have to persevere. And, I hope I'm asking your question, but always look and be open-minded to like-minded people. And surround yourself with people that bring you up, to make you better tomorrow. And when somebody wants a job, I ask them a question that not a lot of people can answer. How am I better tomorrow with you than I am today without you? I don't care about the application. I don't care about the resume. Tell me that. So I hope I answered that question on collaboration.
You did. And it really actually speaks to some sound advice that I heard one time, which was you have to have 3 types of people. You have to have someone that is pulling you from above. You have to have people that are by your side. And then you have to have others that motivate you by looking up to you. And if you have those 3 people around you, you can keep going, because there's going to be times that you're sitting with yourself and like, what am I doing? I know I'm crazy because people say I'm crazy. And I know I'm doing something that hasn't been done before. And that's what your mentor, and that's who's pulling you up, is going to tell you, like, to keep going. And then the people on the side, they believe you. They believe in you, and they're right there by your side, helping you, dabbing your forehead when you're sweating. And then the people below you, they have to believe it, and you have to believe it. And they have to keep, understanding that they're looking up to you for what's going to happen and when it's going to hit, right? And that integrity and the credibility of like when something's going to happen is very true. And having to keep that focus. Go ahead.
The other thing that I would say is you've got to be willing to be bold and to take chances. And I've been really interested in this conversation because I love to hear about new ideas, new things. And the co-working space really has, it really raises an antenna. And when I say take chances, I think of, have you ever heard of Roman? The online male stuff, female stuff, ED stuff, birth control pills, now they're getting into, but, in 2012, we've never really gotten into the ED stuff. But if you asked any, entrepreneur out there if they'd like to own Roman or Lyft or Uber, for example, we get a lot of calls from people that say they have a sinus infection, but they really want to talk to the doctor about Viagra. And it's really a harmless medication that's probably over the counter in every other country. But the point is we didn't get into it. And there's just a stigma about that. We want to, non-urgent illnesses, that's a lifestyle medication. Right now we're being courted by people that want to be in the cannabis industry or that are in the cannabis industry. And we're having those same emotions. What do we do about this? Do we embrace it? Do we stay away from it? Telehealth's out there, and as long as medical marijuana is becoming legal in most states, pretty soon they're going to be doing it through telehealth. So it's more of a, I like to think of we're more like the Chick-fil-A's of the world, where there's certain things they don't do, like open on Sunday. And there's, I've always thought there's certain things we don't do, but maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, I think that's, part of finding your MVP, right? And understanding what differentiates you from others. I mean, we confidently get to say we're the only co-working space that offers telehealth to our members. And leading that badge is great, but we can't wait for others to join us to make it standard in the industry, because more and more the gig economy is moving forward. People are independently working, and the gaps between, not working for a corporation or having a boss is you lose those benefits, right? Those are those comfort zones that you have, with not having to make those risks for being bold. And we know that's going to be more and more in a high demand. And just accessibility, right?
How much time do we have left here?
Oh, we have, is Pastor Jonathan with us? We have a good minute.
Okay. I want to make sure I get this in. You brought up a very good point. You're different now a little bit because you offer telehealth. And just make sure that if any of your competitors start deploying telehealth, that you're the one that sold it to them, and you sold them the iSelect MD product. So sometimes there's an opportunity within an opportunity. So I'm not sure how somebody feels about talking to their competitors about things, but we'd love to expand our sphere of opportunity. And who knows, co-working better than someone that's been doing it the way you have.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Michael. Yeah, Joe and I have had that conversation, and we are definitely opening those doors up. And that's what's actually really beneficial and, in my opinion, unique and beautiful about the co-working industry is it's all cooperation. It's no straight-on competition. We fill a niche that serves our members, and we have a uniqueness to us that really gravitates to our membership bases. And there's some things that we don't need to don't accommodate, and it's okay. Either if it's geographically, if it's because we don't have certain aspects that they're looking for. But I do know I can confidently ask another co-working space to offer their services and to lead that, because I would only hope for someone to do that for us, and we have had that. We're very fortunate to have had, before we opened up, multiple co-working spaces around us basically hold our members before we were able to open. And I don't know any other business that literally will hold a customer for you until you're ready for them. And co-working is very communal in that sense. And I know the more that people start seeing what the demand is of their members and what they need, and answering not on a real estate basis, what a space can offer, but on a membership basis, what value you can bring to each individual. If we're doing good independently, then that means we all can be doing good independently.
Well, we really like the San Marcos, Austin region. And before we get off, I really want to thank you for taking the time. And I want to thank Joe for putting this together for me. He's been incredible to work with.
Thank you for just even offering the opportunity so I could meet Joe. I just feel like I have a lifelong friend now because of him.
Yeah, he's very easy to be around. Great guy.
Well, thank you so much, Michael. And I think that Pastor Jonathan is going to join us and close us out. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Corinna. Thank you so much, Michael. Great advice, great conversation. I hope that you guys are really enjoying these discussions and these panels. Lots of valuable information. And to keep the conversation going, we're actually going to move into the segment where you can go into the Hop-In platform and you can network with other people that are on the platform and have Q&A and discussions. So if you go over to Hop-In, you're going to click sessions, and then you're going to click networking for the chat roulette. So before we do that, I want to acknowledge our planners and sponsors for this event, the Global San Marcos Global Entrepreneurship Week program. Chairing the effort is Ms. Corinna Boston Pinellas, who we've just heard from of Splash Coworking, Claudette Blythe, the founder of Modern Tribes Events and chair with the Dunbar Heritage Association, Sean Bold, founder of SimPost, new venture entrepreneur in residence at Texas State University Star Park, the Center for Innovation and Entrepreneurship at Texas State University, and Barbara Thomason, Director of Workforce Development, Business Retention and Expansion at the Greater San Marcos Partnership for Regional Economic Development Organization for Hays and Caldwell County. So go on over to Hop-In, join a networking session, and we'll see you back here soon.